peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Towards realization of the grand vision of better infrastructure, the government is soon commissioning operations of the Port of Lamu in June 2021. 3 of the 32 berths of the port have been completed, and it's expected that Lamu Port alone will handle up to 24 million tons of cargo annually when fully completed. Lamu Port construction is part of the $25 billion Lamu Port, South Sudan and Ethiopia Transport Corridor project, also known as LAPSSET. The transformative Lamu Port project was officially launched by the Government of Kenya in March 2012, and its construction continues in earnest. Commissioning of the Lamu Port will play a significant role in the next phase of Kenya's socio-economic growth. The soon-to-be operationalized port will continue to modernization of Kenya's infrastructure and boost communication and transportation, which are some of the key pillars of Kenya's dominant position in Eastern Africa. The Government of Kenya has committed to expanding Kenyan road and rail network to better open the country for trade and also to cement Kenya's position as a regional transportation and communication hub. As the Government of Kenya strive to bring the country into a new realm of increased economic growth and raise the living standards for the population, many infrastructural projects have been commissioned. President Uhuru Kenyatta has remained instrumental in championing for a new chapter of Kenya's infrastructural development, and that is why the mega LAPSSET project is gradually becoming a reality despite the challenges the project has faced. LAPSSET is one of Kenya's flagship long-term infrastructural development programs under the country's Vision 2030 and the infrastructural development pillar under the Big Four agenda. Through its multiple infrastructural components, including the 32-berth Lamu Port, regional highways, rails, oil pipelines, and refineries, as well as resort cities along the corridor, the mega project is projected to become a major contributor that will take Kenya's annual gross domestic product, that is the GDP growth, to more than 10%. The LAPSSET project will not only become one of Kenya's revolutionary infrastructural development projects in the country's recent history, but also contribute to realization of African Union's vision of integrating the continent for regional trading by 2063. The government of President Uhuru Kenyatta has remained committed into bringing the LAPSSET grand vision into a reality. The project bears heavily on the president's ambition to modernize Kenya's infrastructure to cement Kenya's position as transport and logistics hub in East Africa and the Horn of African regions. To hasten the realization of the benefits of the Lamu Port initiative, the government has been upgrading and constructing roads that connect the port as the regional hinterland encompassing Ethiopia, South Sudan, and Uganda. The port will also connect Kenya and the regional hinterland to some other 300 ports globally. The initiative of the Port of Lamu is also expected to create many jobs domestically, including jobs in fishery, manufacturing, logistics, trade, agriculture, and commerce. morning to you, and thank you for finding time to being with us today. This is Good Morning Africa. My name is Miriam Ogutu, and of course, as usual, we're coming to you from Kenya's capital here in Nairobi. Before we bring you the latest, when we shall be looking at the news-making headlines, I'd like to bring us up to date with the figures of COVID-19 in the country. Right now, standing at 176,622 confirmed cases, and so far, the people who have been able to recover in the country right now are standing at 121,206 cases, and the death toll in Kenya is 3,428, and Uganda 65,631 cases. The people who have since recovered in Uganda is 48,649, and the death toll has gone up to 508, and South Africa, the leading country in the continent right now, recording 1,774,312 cases, and the people who have since recovered in South Africa, 1,620,317, and the death toll that has been recorded in South Africa right now is standing at 58,223. And of course, the people who have since been confirmed to have got this COVID-19 across the world right now standing at over 177.8 million people across the world. So that is the latest there, COVID-19. So this morning, I'm joined on the panel by Samuel Tawish, a journalist from Nairobi. Samuel, a very good morning to you.
Good morning to you, Miriam, my colleague, panelist, Douglas Kirimi. Sure, I can see there's another panelist there, but I can't quite get who the panelist is. But again, thank you so much for this program, including, of course, our viewers who are tuned in from all over the world watching this program this morning.
All right, thank you so much, Tawish. It's nice to have you. And we also do have Douglas Kirimi from Meru County, an aspiring politician. He's actually vying for a seat right now, he told us. Douglas Kirimi, a very good morning to you.
A very good morning to you, Miriam Ogutu, and also to my friend Sasina Tawish and Jevan Karanja. Yes, it is true. I'm running for MCA in a by-election in Meru County, Miriam. Thank you.
All right. We wish you all the best. Good luck. Politics is headache. I don't know why you would want to put yourself, but I guess you have it in you. Thank you so much and all the best. And we do also have Jevan Karanja from the new case. Nikamalipata Sputnik V, Ajatuambia. Jevan Karanja, very good morning to you.
A very good morning to you, Miriam, and good morning to our viewers. I didn't get that vaccine because, the government didn't authorize the use of that one from Russia, but this one from the AstraZeneca, that is what we are using here right now. Thank you.
Actually, the government did not authorize, but as usual, there are a couple of Kenyans who have continued to receive it nevertheless. Okay, so let's turn our attention to what is making headlines in Kenya this morning by looking at the three leading newspapers, the Star newspaper, the Standard newspaper, as well as the Daily Nation. And we shall start with the Star newspaper. The main headline there reading, 2022 polls, IEBC tells civil servants to quit by February. Nominations for presidential candidates will take place between May 30th and June 10th next year, while official campaigns will run from May 10th. The story is on page 4 and 5 of the Star newspaper. And up there, Uhuru grand plan to deflate DP Ruto ahead of election. So we shall look at that. And then we go to the Daily Nation and the main headline, Raila again, Ruto lost. Voting patterns in the past two presidential elections. President Kenyatta and Deputy President William Ruto relied on the Mount Kenya region and Rift Valley blocks to beat Mr. Odinga. The widening rift between leaders representing the eastern and western slopes of the mountain could hurt Ruto more than Raila, whose voter strongholds remain largely the same. And then just down there, schools burst at the seams after Form 1 intake. Okay, so anyway, it's all systems go for election like no other. The stories on page 6 and 7 of the Daily Nation and the Standard newspaper. The main headline there reading, tweets that tell a story of fallout. To analyze Ruto's Twitter post is to peek inside his mind. They are religious, sardonic, scathing, funny, encouraging, hopeful, and introspective. And I think that is where we shall start our conversation this morning. The way the Standard is describing DP Ruto's tweet, and I know especially the latest that it was felt as if he was lamenting and he was not very happy with the headline that I think yesterday on the Star newspaper, that President Uhuru Kenyatta said he will be backing, on today's Wednesday, on Monday. Today's Thursday. I'm sorry, that's the mummy's mind. Sometimes you even forget the day. Tuesday, the headline that President Uhuru Kenyatta was going to, support one of the NASA chiefs, and since then, he came out very blatant to express his feelings. Does that tell us that that's how he feels, or maybe I don't know? Samuel Tawish.
Very well. Thank you once more, Miriam, and my colleague panelists and everyone who is watching us. I think, Miriam, for Deputy President William Ruto is a man who should not even be surprised that President Uhuru Kenyatta, who is a Jubilee Party leader and his boss in government, is not very keen on supporting his candidature or ambition to become president come 2022 general election or any other election that we'll have after 2022. For the simple reason is that William Ruto has been a deputy to Uhuru, who has been undermining his boss. He's not been very keen to help the president actually galvanize support across the country. He's not been supporting the president in his unity agenda. He's not been helping the president in as far as fight against corruption is concerned. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that Deputy President William Ruto was trying to actually go parallel to the desire and the aspirations of the president, who is his boss. So for President Uhuru Kenyatta to come out and make it very clear that he wants to hand over the reins of power of this nation when his term comes to an end next year to a person who one is keen on uniting the people of Kenya, who is going to continue with his legacy, who is going to ensure that there's going to be inclusivity in this country, and one who is going to ensure that we are not going to be entangled in the tribalist politics that has characterized the political environment of this country for the longest time, Miriam. So I think it is not about that President Uhuru Kenyatta really hates William Ruto. I think for the interest of the nation, for the interest of Kenyans, he is duty bound to ensure, in as much as he's exiting officially as president next year, he hands over power to safe hands. I think that is the word. He wants he wants to leave this country in secure hands. And I think that has been the call from many other leaders that Uhuru should not be very keen or focused on just finishing his term come 2022, but also ensure that he leaves this country in safe hands. But again, that in itself also lies with the people of Kenya, because the ability to decide who is going to become the next president of this republic lies with the people of Kenya, who will be participating in a democratic election. But we need to have a democracy that is guided, Miriam, and I think that is where President Kenyatta is trying to take Kenyans. That is how President Uhuru Kenyatta is trying to persuade us to understand his conviction, why he thinks the best person to steer this country ahead comes from the NASA individuals. I submit, Miriam.
All right, thank you so much. There is a particular tweet that he tweeted this week that elicited a lot of debate online on June this month, and he tweeted, "So, was the distraction, dismembering of Jubilee, a national party meant to pave way for support of regional tribal parties in NASA? Now with the collapse of Jubilee, isn't it fair for those who can't fit in ethnic parties to build UDA as an alternative national party?" And then, so a lot of Kenyans are questioning, so who really destroyed Jubilee Party? Douglas Kirimi, does DP has a right to say somebody, destroyed Jubilee Party? Well, a lot of people would think he really helped in doing so. Douglas?
Sasa, Miriam, thank you. We need to also separate.
Okay, Douglas, you're having a problem with your connection. So fix it, and then I'll come back to you, please. All right, we are not able to hear that.
Does not mean Jubilee Party is dead, Miriam. Mm-hmm. So, can you hear me, Miriam?
Well, it's clearer now, but we seem to be having a bit of a connection problem there from your side. But...
Yes, Miriam, can you hear me?
Okay, try. Go ahead.
the destruction of Jubilee Party, Miriam, has not been facilitated by anyone, and also does not mean that Jubilee is dead. Jubilee Party, through their fight and lang, kicked out errant members who are allied to William Ruto. And it means if a few members who are allied to William Ruto are kicked out from party leadership and also from government in National Assembly and also top government offices, does not mean that Jubilee Party is dead, Miriam. It is party discipline, and it has to be so. I'm a member of Jubilee Party, and I welcome every purging that has to purge out people that do not conform to the constitution of Jubilee Party and the ideals and the aspirations of the party. So Miriam, when William Ruto laments about the killing of Jubilee and dismembering of Jubilee Party, he is talking about what he has been doing clearly by forming another party, going to UDA. We have not seen President Uhuru Kenyatta go to NASA Coalition. We have not seen him go to another party. He's still the party leader of Jubilee Party and the president who was elected on the ticket. But we have seen a deputy who has deviated from his core functions as a deputy president, as an assistant to the president, and also as a member of Jubilee Party by sponsoring rival parties. Actually, he has over 4 parties now. His main party now is UDA, Miriam. How can we talk about dismembering of Jubilee Party when we don't talk about the hypocrisy and also the powers that William Ruto has been able to misuse as a deputy party leader in Jubilee Party by forming another party, sponsoring another party, even sponsoring it against his own party? So Miriam, when we talk about dismembering of Jubilee, we have to talk about the greatest hypocrisy of our political times, who is Dr. William Ruto, the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, who has dismembered and destroyed the very fulcrum of Jubilee Party, which is party loyalty, which is party. He has even taken members of Jubilee Party and gone them to the Mudama, Johnson Mudama Red Party, the UDA party. When we look at it, Miriam, we have to take the ball back to its court, to William Ruto's court. We have to take it back to the sender. When he talks about dismembering, we have to talk about dismembering Jubilee Party and forming another party. Did the president form another party? No. Did William Ruto form another party? Yes. Did William Ruto destroy Jubilee? Yes. How did he do that? By taking members allied to Jubilee Party and forming UDA and popularizing another party and its activities against or versus Jubilee Party of the Republic of Kenya. So Miriam, we have to put it very clear. Dr. William Ruto has destroyed Jubilee Party of Kenya, which is led by Dr. Uhuru Kenyatta, and William Ruto himself has gone out to be a UDA member. He continues supervising and also authorizing activities and also presiding over activities that are permitted from UDA and the quarters, the Asra Center. So Miriam, when we talk about the party hypocrisy, when we talk about dismembering of parties, it is William Ruto, Samoei Ruto, who has destroyed the Jubilee Party, not the president.
All right.
Note that even at my workplace, if today I start any bad behavior, I'm kicked out, the company will continue, and it was not formed for my benefit and for my welfare. Even Jubilee Party was not formed for the welfare of Jubilee Party deputy leader William Ruto. I'm asking the party to kick him out so that he can go to UDA. The next step is kick him out of Jubilee and impeach him as deputy president.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Jevan Karanja, DP lamenting that President Uhuru Kenyatta really is the one who destroyed the Jubilee Party. Is he placing the blame at the right doorstep?
Thank you very much, Miriam. And I don't think that President Uhuru Kenyatta destroyed the Jubilee Party. Neither do I blame the Deputy President per se, but I blame the handlers of the Deputy President to the extent that he failed to control them. Because sometimes early 2018, the Deputy President did come out openly to oppose the President, but his supporters, his foot soldiers came out to ensure that they sabotage the administration of President Uhuru Kenyatta. And I think that is where the rain started beating the Deputy President. Therefore, the people who surround the Deputy President are the one who started pushing a different agenda with what President Uhuru Kenyatta was doing. And in fullness of time, we also saw the Deputy President falling in that trap, and he started coming to Mount Kenya region, opening and commissioning projects that were not in agenda of the government, that were not budgeted for. Therefore, he started positioning himself as the man who was competing with his boss. And I think that is where the Ragos and the breakup in Jubilee started. Therefore, I not say that Jubilee is dead. It's just that a function of people, a function of members of Jubilee who felt like Jubilee was not satisfying their immediate goal. Jubilee was not giving them immediate gratification. And I think that is why they hoped and they felt it was wise to jump ship and form another party, another figure called UDA. Therefore, these are people under the agenda of UDA, Miriam, is simply the 2022 general elections. And the agenda of Jubilee administration under President Uhuru Kenyatta was to first complete the mandate that they were given by the people of Kenya, and that is service delivery, that is infrastructural development, that is to ensure that he brings this country together as they started with the handshake. Therefore, when you look at these people, Jubilee got two forces that were not reading from the same script, that were not heading in the same direction, and that is why we had the fallout. Therefore, the deputy president blaming President Uhuru Kenyatta is hypocrisy, because we elected them in one ticket. Therefore, he, as a deputy president, as a principal assistant of the president, he could be assisting the president to complete, to achieve, to deliver the promises that he made to Kenyans. But in contrary to that, the deputy president is working for his own presidential ambition. Therefore, I think that is where all these things started coming, and that is why Jubilee today is still is struggling even to be to be relevant, especially in Rift Valley region, where it gathered a number of parliamentary positions because of this new outfit called the UDA. Therefore, I not blame the president, but I blame the premature campaigns that came along with from 2017 to date, and that is what have caused the problems that we have in Jubilee. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. Professor Jared Onyari, a very good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Miriam and my fellow panelists and our viewers, wherever they are, be it morning, afternoon, or evening.
All right, thank you so much. So the issue of Deputy President, blaming President Uhuru Kenyatta of destroying the Jubilee Party. What's your thoughts, Prof?
Miriam, sometimes, I'm constrained to be discussing this. It is not worth for me to waste my energy of giving my input. Why are you blaming the president, Miriam, when you are in yellow colors? Surely. Why are you blaming the president when I can see you going around with Mokokoteni and the wheelbarrow? You have taken a position. What's wrong with the president taking a position? And the Miriam, apart from the Hurapa we have around that whole young Kumi young is let them just give agreement to tell us that they agree with the president that he will do 10-10. In any event, he's the one who has benefited from the president for having put him in this deputy president for 2 terms, Miriam. And in the first term, Miriam, and I've got no doubt not to believe the president, Miriam, because he has said that 2013 they were in the routing spree with what was happening in this government, Miriam. They were routing. And remember, Miriam, in the spirit of BBI, the president is aimed at having a united country, Miriam. And the clarion call you and I, we like using is that let us leave no one behind, Miriam. Mm-hmm. William, what William has done, Miriam, they are parted ways, Miriam. Uhuru Kenyatta belongs to the dynasty and he belongs to the Asras. That's why he calls himself. How do these people converge, Miriam? If you find someone is mobilizing people to come and destroy you, how will you be for him? So the deputy president should blame himself. Okay. In any event, Jubilee is not going to die. It's going to be a party. It will be part of the coalition of the formation which is coming. And Jubilee will be in power. Do you remember one day, Kamoto said that Kanu will be in power for 100 years. Mm-hmm. And you doubted Kamoto. Is Kanu not in power? Uhuru Kenyatta is people Kanu. Mwai Kibaki was basically Kanu. Moi was Kanu. And the next band, even if it will be Baba has been Kanu. So let people not say that let him just concentrate with these yellow colors, with these wheelbarrows. We wish him well. and it's very unfortunate that he absconded duty much earlier instead of assisting the president, Miriam. Let him just come forward and tell us, apart from the appearing on Madaraka Day in Kisumu with yellow t-shirts with the t-shirt of UDA. You use those colors, Miriam, on a national day. You go with the colors of a party. Telling us now, very unfortunate. Let him tell us when he helped the president.
Okay, all right.
And what happened. So let him concentrate. In fact, Miriam, we are praying that we are creating an office for him. He's a very lucky man. Very lucky man.
Okay.
He opposed the 2010 constitution, Miriam. He's the deputy president. He's opposing BBI, and we are going to make him the leader for the opposition.
All right, thank you. And if you can remember, Professor, I think a few months ago we were here discussing the Jubilee Asili office. So they also have it in the office. I don't know what became of that, but there you go. On page 5 of the Standard newspaper, strategy to diffuse poll violence launched in top security meeting. The government has started putting in place security measures to diffuse chaos in next year's general election. This was revealed yesterday during a security meeting held in Nairobi, which brought together regional and county commissioners from all counties. The administrators were told by Interior Security Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i to start preparing grounds earlier enough to avoid instability. Among those issues that were the county commissioners were expected to focus on are enforcement of COVID-19 protocols, progress on Huduma number distribution, handling political gatherings, and rising criminal gangs. Matiang'i, who presided over the meeting at Kabete's Kenya School of Government, told the county commissioners that this is the right time to plan how to tame election violence. And I don't know, as a Kenyan, when I read that, I get sad. And does it have to be like that, Dr. Joseph Nyanchama? Dr. Joseph Nyanchama, good morning. All right. A doctor is not there. Samuel Tawish.
Thank you once more, Miriam, for this opportunity. I think the attention and concentration of this country as we head to 2022 general election 1 is to reform the IEBC. Because again, you cannot be planting bananas and you expect to harvest oranges. It is almost impossible that we are preparing on how to deal with violence when we have not made every right step to ensure that we have a free, credible, and fair elections come 2022. And we must begin that conversation by reforming the IEBC itself. It is not necessarily a matter of filling the vacant positions of the IEBC. It's about making sure that we have right individuals who are going to oversee the next elections in 2022. We have to begin the conversation from there. We have the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, NCIC. What is it they are doing to sensitize members of the public to actually be in a position to understand how elections go about, how people can live together in harmony, whether or not you win or lose? I mean, these are fundamentals that we cannot ignore. So it's not just a matter of making sure that we are going to suppress those who are going to come up maybe and have a different opinion or to voice dissent in as far as maybe elections are concerned. We must do everything right, even as we prepare to ensure, even as our security apparatus prepare to suppress or to quell any possibility of violence or anarchy or the killing of innocent civilians, simply because one did not succeed in his ambition. So these are some of the things, Miriam, I think as we move to 2022, we need to look with a keen eye and be very careful that it is not just about security issues. It's not just about telling people not to fight. We must begin doing the right thing by making sure we have a free, fair, and credible election, that which every Kenyan can really believe in its results, that which even a loser will accept results with humility. I think these are things that we need to be discussing as we get into 2022 general election. But I am not in any way trying to insinuate that maybe the security apparatus as well may be on the wrong side when they sit down and try to prepare on how the elections next year are not going to cause bloodshed or violence. I mean, it is in the right jurisdiction really to do what they're doing, and I support such calls. But again, I think we need to broaden the discussion and have a discussion towards making sure that we have reformed the IEBC and also the political players, so they did not they did not go out there and incite or whip emotions of their supporters, because those are the ingredients that cause violence in most cases, Miriam.
All right, thank you. Samuel Tawish, and we will get on to the conversation about IEBC, because yesterday also they had a press conference there, so we will look at that. But now the CS for security, they met and they're saying the government is already strategizing on how to diffuse poll violence, and it was launched yesterday. Douglas Kirimi, I live to see a day where I'll just go vote and go back to my work and not worry whether I'm safe or not as a Kenyan.
Miriam, my opinion on that is that IBC, as we know it today, is not properly constituted. Actually, the court has ruled on it. And also, as we look at IBC, we need to reform IBC, kick out Chebukati, kick out every other commissioner, and reform IBC properly. Like Samuel Oretawish has said, we cannot be able to come out clearly and say that we have confidence in IBC. We have no confidence in IBC. We need to have reforms, proper reforms, including the janitor at IBC. We saw how an IT expert at IBC, a Twitter handler at IBC, was sabotaging the BBI process. Sabotaging the will of a section of Kenyans is unacceptable, Miriam, because this is a democratic country that cannot be held ransom by a few people, like Chebukati and his people at IBC Anniversary Towers. So, Miriam, for every person, the vision that Samuel Oretawish has, I don't share that vision, because, Miriam, I don't think in this country, when we go to elections, general elections tomorrow or today by noon, we cannot be able to have people who are properly satisfied, ready to go to heaven. When elections are held, they are okay, like the way Tawish is saying. We cannot have such people. We cannot have such people when IBC is not properly constituted. We have no surety that we can go to elections the way we are today, and this country can be at peace. Miriam, that's why I'm proposing we can even extend the term of the president and the parliament by 1 year or 2 years, so that we can actually properly constitute IBC, kick out Chebukati. If he has committed any crimes at IBC, take him to prison, so that, Miriam, we can have a proper IBC. Because, Miriam, at this time, if we have a Chebukati presiding over 2022 general election, we are preparing for Anake, Miriam.
Hold on, Douglas, my question was to do with the meeting that was held yesterday by CS for Interior, Matiang'i, on a possible chaos, poll chaos, and I want to get into the issue of IBC, but I'd like for us to separate the two, because let me just read for you page 7 of the Daily Nation. Stung by chaos in recent mini polls, and with the possibility that next year's general election will likely trigger violence, the country's security machinery has started mobilizing and making changes to its approach. Instead of waiting for chaos and dealing with it using brute force, security agencies and state administration offices have been asked to redefine their roles and champion transformative civic education. So, obviously, the government has intelligence.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
As my director of these questions, you need to also be very fair to me.
Yes.
That is where the problem is. The problem is at IBC, and that is the problem I'm dealing with. Mm-hmm. The bad man, Chebukati himself, who has always disregarded the will of the people of Kenya, has continued presiding over an IBC that is not even properly constituted. Mm-hmm. And what you look at, Miriam, is electoral malpractices and also electoral problems that we are experiencing. And Miriam, mm-hmm. Yes?
So you say,
when you look at it,
to you, IBC goes inachangia, contributes
inachangia, sababu when the Ministry of Interior cannot be able to talk of possible chaos when they look, what has happened in the past can inform the future. And that is the data that the Ministry of Interior is using. Okay. When you look at the mini polls, people are disputing elections, people are fighting, there are voter bribery. All those issues are associated with IBC. Mm-hmm. The biggest problem and the biggest fraud that we have in this country. How do you expect me, Douglas Kirimi, to go and get defeated in a by-election, my votes get stolen in broad daylight by Chebukati and these people, and then I'll be quiet? Miriam, honestly, and you want to tell me we can wait for 2022? Don't even wait for 2022. Right. Wait in the next 2 months. If elections are stolen, Miriam, there's nothing like peace in that place. Because, Miriam, honestly, if me, I have a mouth, I have a brain. No, I cannot wait for police to speak for me. And what we are asking, the way the Ministry of Interior is saying, as I conclude my point in a minute, Miriam, the way the Ministry of Interior is trying to put it is that they are going to avert possible chaos. But for them to be able to avert possible chaos, you need to tell Mr. Matiang'i properly and clearly and crystal clear that for them to be able to preside over an election as a the security machinery, to be able to see that there will be no post-election violence in this country, we need to have a properly constituted IBC, an IBC that is without blemish. Okay. Remember, Miriam, Caesar's wife must be above reproach. Our Caesar's wife, who is IBC, who is Chebukati, which is presided over by Chebukati, is with reproach, Miriam. We need to kick out Chebukati. We need to kick out everything that is going to cause violence in this country.
I hear you, Douglas. Thank you so much. Now, I recommend greater involvement of the public in planning for elections. County commissioners should start looking for youth leaders, faith-based organizations, and elders. Let us revive the clusters and start working with them. Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i said, let us invest heavily in conversations. It's better to spend more resources on deliberations and conversations on how we will have a peaceful elections and educating our people than use the resources in enforcement. Jevan Karanja, this new approach and taking precautions before that happens.
Thank you very much, Miriam. We always say that prevention is better than cure. And I agree with what the Minister of Interior is doing, because you know for a fact that the IBC, they don't have security apparatus. They don't maintain peace and security. They don't enforce law and order. That is the work of our
security apparatus, but in the last budget, they spent so much money on paying security. So I don't know who they were paying, but we know the government provides for the security. Go ahead. They can't account for that money.
But yeah, that is also the information that I have. Yes. Because when I go for a polling station, I usually see a police officer and they are in the Kenyan uniform. Therefore, I think that these are government and they are under the Ministry of Internal Coordination and Internal Security. Therefore, when you look at these issues keenly, Miriam, I see that we are heading in a very good pedestal, because, Miriam, we can prevent the election violence if we can start it earlier, if we can start having that kind of advocacy, that kind of awareness, bringing together the grassroots leaders, Miriam, because these are the people who have one-on-one with the electorates. These are people who interact with these people. Therefore, if we can have these leaders come together and they start now championing for a peaceful election, Miriam, we can achieve it on the issue of security. But Miriam, these elections, they don't mostly occur prior to election, but they occur during the election day or after elections. Therefore, now this is where the IBC comes in, because if the IBC cannot guarantee Kenyans, and if IBC cannot be seen to act in a way that will guarantee credibility and verifiable votes at the end of the verifiable results at the end of the day, Kenyans, this is when they start reacting. When you look at 207 million, what happened? Kenyans didn't fight during the material day of voting, but after the results were made public, that is when things fall apart. Therefore, under Miriam, we need also, before we reach to election day, as I'm trying to bring this point home, we need also to ensure that politicians, anyone who is purported and who is seen to act in a manner that suggests they are pushing for pushing for incitements, they are beating drums of war, they're inciting people against others. These people need to be apprehended, they need to be taken to a court of law. And the most important thing to do with this kind of crooks is to ensure that they are not in the ballot in the first place. That will also go a long way in ensuring that we don't go for this violence. Because at a personal level, the voters will not react. Whether the results are not fair or they are unfair, voters will not react, because to some point, how human beings are, they will trust the results from IBC. But the people who bring scales is our politicians who say, oh, I am not satisfied with the results, I will not accept the results as they are. Therefore, these are the kind of people that we need to deal with. And to ensure that we have transparency and to ensure that these politicians toes the line is to ensure that we have an IBC that looks fair, that looks to be credible in the public eye, and a process and an IBC that these politicians will trust. I know that is the route that you're heading. I know President Uhuru Kenyatta is determined to ensure that we have an IBC streamlined that will give credible results, an IBC that will have the trust from the public. Okay. That to me is what means to all this. But we must coordinate and ensure that all agencies, all stakeholders, and all Kenyans are in peace with themselves, and they can trust themselves, and they can trust the process.
Okay, thank you so much. Tawish, I see your hand is up, but I'd like Professor to go to respond to that question first, and then maybe I can hear what you want to say. Yeah.
Miriam, I have been in this country for some time, and I've watched quite a number of elections, Miriam. Right away from the one which was Mlolongo, where the shortest queue will become the longest queue. I've seen the first multi-party democrats come in, and all the way to where we are, Miriam. Miriam, you can, you know, sometimes people castigate Chebukati. What did Chebukati do? Yeah, those ones who are telling me Chebukati should go home. What did he do? I really don't understand. Because he's in office, he has been doing by-elections, Miriam, and in any event, the reasons why the Supreme Court ruled and nullified the elections, Miriam, it's a question of debate. If you are saying Chebukati should go home, those who are beneficiaries, Miriam, right away, then we should be able to corrupt everybody else right away from the president up to MCS. But I'm making a point. And the point I'm making is this, Miriam. We can change laws, we can change everything if we don't change the attitude and the thinking of people, because Miriam, all the time, people are thinking on how to rig the elections. I saw 2007, Miriam, and my memory is there, and I saw someone was ahead with 2.5 million votes, Miriam. I don't know what happened, Miriam. I just come to find that he has been defeated by elections which came from Tharaka Nithi. And that's how serious it is, Miriam. So unless, Miriam, we want to say that we play by the rules are there, Miriam. Don't rig the elections, Miriam. And the Kenyans will not fight. Simple as that. Because when you see, if we counted the votes at the polling station, and Miriam, it was announced, and we did not fight at the polling station, Miriam. It means in between here, people change. And that you don't blame it on Chebukati, Miriam. Chebukati gets figures to announce. So the point I'm making, Miriam, is this. Can we say that, can we go for an election, Miriam? I compete with you. You win, and I congratulate you. Miriam, you know, I was a contestant, I was a candidate, you interviewed me. Yes. Now that when the man won, although he rigged, did I go to kill people? We live to fight another day. So in this country, Miriam, my way forward, Miriam, and let me listen to me, stop stealing Tawish's votes. And Kenyans will not fight. And it doesn't need that one. Members of parliament have got that power to seal those loopholes through the electoral IBC Act, Miriam. But you know what, Miriam? They are the beneficiaries. So that's why they are giving us in trouble, Miriam, and that's why we were going for BBI, to ensure that we deal once and for all the votes at the polling station. And what if I listen to Chebukati properly, Miriam, the multiple servers, Miriam, will help in one way, because if you tamper with one, you cannot tamper with the other one. So unless you have got serious intention, but may we change the attitude, Miriam, of rigging someone's vote, Miriam. That's where the problem comes in. You can see, even you saw what was happening in Chucha. You saw it. Mm-hmm. You saw what happened in Kabuchai, Miriam. You saw what happened in Matungu, Miriam. Mm-hmm. Because people are having a mentality of rigging the elections, Miriam.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. And what I saw in those places, Prof, you've cited, was politicians who are inciting, who are causing the chaos that we were seeing there. So, and plus, yeah.
And Miriam, hear this. Mm-hmm. And the law is very clear, Miriam. Mm-hmm. If you cause election violence, Miriam, if you buy voters, Miriam, And the people are caught by broad daylight, Miriam, flying force. Have you ever seen actions, Miriam? Will the road help you if you don't take action?
It has to be implemented. All right.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Sabo Tawish, you had something you wanted to say before we move to now look at IEBC.
Well, I think it was basically a brief comment, Miriam, regarding what my other panelists have spoken about. And I think Professor there has indeed firmed up that point, that we want politicians to get into election. And the mindset, I think, the mindset and attitude, let alone the politicians, even the supporters of the politicians, we need to get into this election understanding that there are two aspects. It's either you're going to win or lose. But you see, if everyone goes into an election with a rigid mind that it's a must win for them, then it's going to be a problem. That's where we are going to have chaos. So it is about flexibility and understanding that election results can either favor you or not. And I think this is where we need to stress.
Thank you, Tawish.
All right. Thank you so much. Now that we started talking about the IEBC, how about we just have a complete conversation about what they said yesterday? And it has been captured on page 6 of the Daily Nation. IEBC vows to curb poll irregularities in 2022. Does it always do that all the time? Professor amesema implementation ndio shida hapo. Now, radical measures will be enforced to curb irregularities in the 2022 general election, including verifying aspirants' academic papers, a foreign travel ban for inciters, and speedy resolution of poll-related disputes as the electoral agency implements the requirements of the university degree for aspirants. The Commission of University Education, KWER, and the Kenya National Qualification Authority, KNQA, will be on hand to verify academic papers and inspection of parties to assess compliance with the law, including having branches could see closure of some of 73 registered outfits, limiting options available for politicians scrambling for nominations. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, the judiciary, and other state agencies are working to ensure smooth running of the general election, according to resolutions passed during the release of the IEBC strategic plan on Tuesday. So I see IEBC there is giving us its word that it has vowed to curb poll irregularities in 2022. If I can recall well, that is the reason why we have all this biometric voting and all that. That was supposed to solve that, but so far, it's still a challenge there. So what do you think is the problem here, Douglas Kirimi? Douglas not there. Javan, what do you think they'll do this time different?
Miriam, thank you very much for that question. And I think now the IEBC should move from being a rhetoric commission to an action-oriented body, because this is what they were telling us in 2017. This is what Hassan Hussein was telling us in 2013, that they do this, they use these biometrics and so on. And I think, Miriam, we need to have a system. And I also saw Wafula Chebukati, the IEBC chairperson, saying that they will also work in conjunction with the media to ensure that the information, the votes, the tally that is released from the polling station, that would be the final. That is where the votes are rigged from. And that should be like, and I wish they can have a system where the results that are at the polling station are transmitted directly to where the headquarters of IEBC will be during that general election. Because if they start going to the constituency level, this is where, during that transmission, during that transportation of these ballot papers from whatever places, this is where these votes disappear. And I think this should be more on the presidential ballot, because on the MCA, we can deal with it. I have not seen any difficulties with the MCA position, with the MP, member of parliament. They have their agents and so on. But the problem comes with this presidential ballot. It should be made mandatory that the presidential poll results at the polling station should not go to these other small stations, like the ward level, to constituency level, then to county level. It should go direct to IEBC headquarters, that is maybe Bomas or KICC, and that should be the final. And they should make it a process where the media will capture these votes, and they release this disseminate the information to the public, so that we will know that in a specific polling station, this is what so and so gathered in the presidential ballot. Because to some point, we don't know the number of votes that they get in this polling station. We only get to know what they have, the number of votes that they get at constituency level. I think that will go a long way in ensuring that we create confidence. But also, I saw them saying that we'll have a backup system in the country, and I heard Chebukati saying last year, the last general election, the backup was in French, and by the time we were voting, the French guys were asleep. Therefore, when the kind of claims, the kind of blame that they're making and shifting goals, Miriam, they need to have a backup system and to ensure that we have electricity in this area, and they beam up the internet connection in areas which have low internet connectivity, because these are some of the loopholes that they make, and they disappear with voter election irregularities. They have work to do, Miriam. Also, they need to ensure that the electoral management system, it's well captioned and it's well maintained, to avoid the kind of scenarios where we had even losing lives of ICT managers as prior to 2017 general election. Therefore, they need, this is work in progress. And if, Miriam, they feel like these biometric, these electronic means will not work, they can incorporate with the manual voter register with these other things, because to some from what I saw of Chebukati and from what I observed, he is giving us a lot of hope. He is having lots of hope in these electronic devices. He needs also to ensure that every system is in place, so that we can guarantee ourselves credibility. Because Miriam, this presidential ballot, this is where the contentious, this is where the controversy is, this is where the war is, Miriam. If we can deal with that, Miriam, we can guarantee ourselves a successful election. But they also need to start early, ensuring that they do voter education, they do voter registration and other things that they're supposed to do, so that they can prepare Kenyans psychologically as we head to this election. Because election is just one day, but the process takes time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jevan. You're saying Chebukati is giving us a lot of hope, and he has so much confidence in the electronic voting. As well he should. Do you know how much money we've invested as a country to get these gadgets? And I think, if I had them right, yesterday they were saying some of them have been, they must be updated. I don't know, that will mean acquiring new ones or just updating the ones that we already have. And also, electronic systems work anywhere else in the world except here. So I just don't understand if this is, well, Douglas Kirimi, are you there? Not there. Oh, very well. Samuel Tawish.
Well, Miriam, it's good that you brought up this conversation because, again, it is the desire of every Kenyan, especially voters, that we get, that IEBC secures a foolproof system, because, again, that is where the problem is usually. I mean, today, from the time we had elections in 2017 up to now, Kenyans continue to live together in peace and harmony, and they appreciate and acknowledge each other's brother and sister. But again, just when we get into an election or soon after the election, we begin fighting amongst ourselves, and sometimes it's because of the lack of confidence in this very critical institution called IEBC, the electoral body. And I think it is important for Chebukati and his other commissioners not to sit at the comfort of their offices, but actually to see how they can carry out a sensitization program on voters to understand exactly what is their role and what they are supposed to be doing. Because again, tomorrow, the problem comes in when you have a voter who expects even to be announcing the results of a presidential election or to announce results of an election that has been held in a ward level. So it is important for IEBC to carry out an elaborate, an expansive kind of voter sensitization program to educate and make members of the public to understand what their role is when it comes to an election. Because again, the budget is provided anyway. With the IEBC, they have the budget to do this, but I do not understand why they leave it at the hand of the politicians to do it, because again, politicians do as it fits them. So I think we should not let this biased class of politicians to be the ones who are carrying out voter sensitizations when we get into an election. So it is incumbent upon IEBC to do this. Another point, Miriam, before I wind up, I think we need to stress is that IEBC itself also needs to speak coherently, and they need to speak and read from the same script as commissioners, as IEBC. Because again, the problem comes in when you have maybe commissioner speaking differently from the CEO. Maybe you have the chairperson not agreeing with the vice chairperson. You have this other commissioner saying these are not the results that we got when the chairperson is saying a different thing altogether. So I think we also need to get people who are compatible enough, people who can work together coherently, people who can always read from the same script, but not the kind of hullabaloo and fiasco we saw in 2017.
All right. Very well. Seem to have suffered a bit of a technical hitch there from
general election with the resignation of individuals within the IEBC. So I think these are the things we really need to address. Thank you, Miriam. I submit.
Okay. Thank you so much. Professor, electronic device, they work all over the world in those mature democracies, like yetu denaleta shida.
Yeah, they work very well. You know, I have told you, Miriam, is that it is just the mentality, Miriam, that you have to win these elections, Miriam. That's where the problem is, Miriam. We have done manual, Miriam. Miriam, let me ask you, to be very honest, in 2002, did we have those election gadgets? Was Kivuti not the same man who was heard all over the world, and he wrote books on Miriam? He was given an opportunity to go and lecture other countries, democracies, on how you do elections out of 2002, Miriam. What happened in 2007? Did we castigate Kivuti, Miriam? And even if he expanded this electoral commission, Miriam, we left him dejected, Miriam, and he died very wrongly. Did you know that? You realize that one, Miriam? You can have those gadgets, Miriam, and you go to a polling station and they fail. So from where I take Miriam is that what you said, and that we say that, Miriam, we must ensure that when you go to an election, Miriam, you win, or you lose. And one of the questions, Miriam, which has not been, what does the machine to do, Miriam? Even a polling station, Miriam, when I go there, I get the presidential paper, the governor paper, the women rep, the member of parliament, and the MCA, and the senator.
All right.
Are you getting that one? How comes, Miriam, and they tell those papers, how comes when the presidential votes are being counted, the one for the president are many? And you want to tell me that people walk to a polling station, Miriam, and they vote for the president and they don't vote for other members of parliament, Miriam? Honestly, we are all the panelists in the panel here. Does it happen? So, Miriam, here is people designed to rig elections. We can bring those gadgets, Miriam, and you will be shocked. But let's agree, Miriam. Okay, that is being just it made. The Supreme Court that people had bettered with the elections, Miriam, have they been charged in court? Have they been charged in court? We have had some by-election, be it member of parliament, Miriam, and we find that there were some irregularities which were done there, Miriam. Have you ever seen that people being investigated and be prosecuted, Miriam? It's not only on the presidential election, Miriam, where there is rigging. It is simply because in the electoral process, Miriam. That's and you know, election, Miriam, is not an event; it's a process, Miriam.
And Professor, and IEBC was also accused of bungling the last elections, and the same officials are still expected to conduct the next elections.
Be it as it may, Miriam. We counted votes in our polling station, Miriam. That's what Chairman said. There was no problem, Miriam. When we were transmitting, Miriam, and that's where people were. Let me tell you, Miriam, and let me just demonstrate from you. NASA wanted to rig they wanted to steal the elections, Miriam. And the Jubilee was of the idea of stealing the election, Miriam. What happened, Miriam? The other was he ran very fast, Miriam, and he reached there. When the other one was coming, Miriam, we said, no, something has happened here, Miriam. What happened is on the server, Miriam, that's all. Because you cannot be able to tell that it is the server if you are not having the intention, Miriam. So, Miriam, what I want to say that the mechanism which Chebukati has put, Miriam, can give us a credible elections, Miriam. But what have we done to the software of the thinking, of the attitude, Miriam? And you know, Miriam, the way we tell our supporters, Miriam, that we will only lose this election, Miriam, if it is rigged. You know that kind of language. If we have won these things, but Guys, we have already won. We will only lose if the elections are rigged.
Very well.
Even if you have been defeated fairly and you have told your supporters this election will be rigged, they will cause problem, Miriam.
All right.
So from where I sit, and it's unfortunate. There's nothing we are going to do with Chebukati. Time is not on our side. You can to remove him from office, Miriam. You need a tribunal and you need those kind of things, Miriam. It's unfortunate that they say that the 4 commissioners who are going to be put in place will be men and women who are going to assist us and have a credible elections. Well. That's from my side, Miriam. And can we just endeavor, Miriam, to punish anyone who bungles with the election? Can we treat like treason, Miriam? That if you rig the elections, and Miriam, you have been found, Miriam, you are buying voters, Miriam, you are disqualified. You know, IBC has got those powers, Miriam. Yeah.
All right.
Even Miriam, I know, even the one who transmitted the figures, Miriam, is known.
Okay. Professor, I hear you. All right, let me read us quickly the key timelines that was issued yesterday by the IEBC. Nomination and submissions of papers, October 18th, 2021, submission of party rules, December 9th, 2021, end of fundraising by aspirants, February 9th, 2022, resignation of public officers intending to vie for elective posts, those are the civil servants, and April 9th, 2022, submission of names of candidates for primaries, April 16th, 2000 to April 2022 party primaries, May 2nd, 2022, submission of independent candidates, symbols, a letter of intent to vie and clearance from the registrar, May 9th next year, a time for those intending to run as independent candidates to resign from parties, May 9th, to 13th next year, gazettement of names of independent candidates and symbols, and May 30th to June 10th next year, presidential candidates are nominated. So that is the timeline that was issued yesterday by the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, the electoral body that is mandated to foreseeing elections in this country. Now, there's a story that I've seen it trending on social media, and Kenyans, Kenyans felt it was hilarious. Zambians MPs visit Kenya to benchmark on fighting corruption. I think they did that last week. Why do you think, Tawish, Kenyans will find this to be funny?
I think for the simple reason, Miriam, the reason why Kenyans are taking it as funny is because maybe they feel there's a feeling, and perhaps in my own considered opinion, it's a genuine feeling, that most Kenyans are not the best of example when it comes to the fight against corruption. Maybe away from the effort that President Uhuru Kenyatta has put in place to ensure that we deal with this vice in this country. But again, most of our politicians, actually, Miriam, to say the truth, is they have not been very committed to fight corruption itself. And they have been mentioned in so many other corruption scandals in this country in the past. And a big number of them are politicians that we currently have, both in the National Assembly and the Senate, and politicians across the board, be it even at the county assemblies, at the governors today in the country. So they will not be a best example really for any credible institution to come and the benchmark. And that's why I think you're finding that topic trending in social media, and Kenyans treating it as a funny, a kind of affair, Miriam, I submit.
And even as you speak, you also think it's funny there. Jevan Karanja, I mean, I know we're not there, but we are trying to fight corruption. Why would Kenyans find it funny that Zambian members of parliament are here benchmarking on how to fight corruption?
Yeah, thank you, Miriam. I think it is fair for the Zambian parliamentarians not to lead the actions of our members of parliament, that they can lead their words, because in this country every member of parliament is condemning corruption. Therefore, and we have very good laws and legislations that are put in place to ensure that we curb the corruption in this country. I think that is what they should go with. The laws that we have in the country, the frameworks that we work, but when it comes to the action, they should not take the action that from our members of parliament, and they should not even copy them, because what we have in this country is hypocrites, because they condemn corruption, but on the same hand, they are milking dry their CDF coffers. They are eating like they have no tomorrow. Therefore, yeah, it's a good gesture, because this seems that as a country we are doing better, and we have positioned ourselves in a higher level when it comes to the issues of economic growth, democracy, and so on. And I think even in the terms of fighting corruption, because we have the best mechanisms in place, the problem that we have is the implementation. We have the laws, we have everything, we have the capacity, but when it comes to the execution of these duties or by these the likes of EACC, DPP, and so on, that is where we have the problem. But they can take everything that we have in this country, but they should not go with the character of our members of parliament. Thank you.
Okay, Prof, end it for us.
Yeah, Miriam, let me tell you for sure. When it comes to the laws and on how we are fighting the corruption in this country, Miriam is good. I can tell you.
On paper.
Even CDF, you see other countries, Miriam, coming to benchmark from us, Miriam. And one of the things, Miriam, which you need to realize that a country to have a budget of more than 3.6 trillion, Miriam, it tells you a message, Miriam. Miriam, you know where the war about corruption, where we lose it, Miriam. You know what the way I do it, Miriam. The Anti-Corruption and Ethics Commission, Miriam, they do very well. The director for prosecution, Miriam, prosecutes. The DCI investigates, Miriam. You know where the problem in this country is, Miriam. It is in the judicial, Miriam. We cannot, Miriam. Do you know the MB for Sirisia Waruke is supposed to be in prison? Do you know that? He only went and put the bid, and Miriam, he arrested Miriam now. So you know where the problem is, and Miriam, you know that's why wherever I will still BBI, wake up BBI, that we need to have time limits on how we are going to handle corruption cases. 2 years, Miriam, we have said this allegation does not hold water, Miriam. Go home, or you go to commit so that, Miriam, we can give you some life skills on how you need to stay in the cert, Miriam. So in terms on how we do things on paperwork, Miriam, Kenya is far way ahead. I can tell you for sure, Miriam. And I was going around, even, Miriam, the types of infrastructure going place in this country, Miriam. Kenya is headed towards, Miriam, becoming a better country, Miriam. We only need to deal with our judicial, Miriam, that when you touch this cup which belongs to me, Miriam, you are punished. So the problem here is, Miriam, they can come, but let them not just go to the judiciary to learn the manners of delaying cases. That's what my fellow panelists have said. But in terms of putting laws in place, Miriam, it is good, Miriam. I can forge for you. I have interacted with the chairman for anti-corruption, Wabukala, Miriam. There's a lot which they are doing, Miriam. And perhaps you should be able to work with them in partnership so that this good work they are doing, they tell us.
All right. They
are recovering assets. I can tell you for sure.
Prof, once they share, we will be happy to share bring
us.
Yeah,
but the problem here is that they recover the assets. Yes. People return, they return, and Kenyans are not informed, Miriam. So yes. You may think that nothing takes place, Miriam. Miriam, if you take our things, Miriam, what business do we have to take you to jail, Miriam? Return our properties, and then you go and you stay peacefully. So there's a lot which is going on at the commission, except, Miriam, when it comes to education and awareness, they are not doing it.
All right.
So the Zimbabweans can come to learn on how they have managed, Miriam, to recover the assets, or what they do, the people who have been found, Miriam. If you take our approach, Miriam, and we find this is our approach, don't we recover it back?
All right.
Yeah, you see, like the Western Hotel East, Miriam. I don't know what they're waiting, Miriam. We need to have that. We need to knock that hotel down, or we have it tested, Miriam. It has. Now, do you turn around and say that the anti-corruption, Miriam, has not worked, Miriam? They have said that the broth belongs to us, Miriam. So the other one who said that, it was regularly sold to him, Miriam, the one who sold, you go to him and he gives you your money.
Okay.
Thank you.
Professor has decided to be radical this morning. You're telling us to knock down the hotel. Okay. Okay. All right. So maybe
Miriam, excuse me. I have not tried to be radical, Miriam. You have come to my home The court has said that you got my land irregular, Miriam. What business do I have to have your building in my land?
So we need to follow the law.
Yes.
Okay,
what you need to
absolutely.
do is to remove it yourself, or we knock it down
or
and
we
we give you the bill.
It.
Yeah. If you cannot remove it, we remove it for you and we give you the bill.
Very well. Okay, so that's where we end this show this morning. And there are other topics of the daily. I'll just read through them and then maybe we'll have this conversation some other time. Kalonzo stand, Raila's running mate, never again. Kalonzo also dismissed as baseless reports that Uhuru had urged NASA leaders to unite with a promise to endorse one of them as his successor. The story is on page 5 of the Daily Nation. And then lockdown looms in Lake Region. State is mulling over enhancing containment measures in 9 counties that have seen a spike in COVID-19 cases in Western Kenya. And then another story there. Mukisa yet to respond to claims. The presidential aspirant is yet to record a statement with police in Mombasa on allegations that he assaulted a woman at a hotel. So those are other stories that we did not have an opportunity. And also Karim Khan takes over from Bensouda at ICC. Also another story in the Standard newspaper on page 4. So get your papers and get to reading, and we will meet you here at 11 a.m. where we shall continue with the conversation we started earlier. The relationship between President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy. This has been Good Morning Africa. Thank you, Professor Jared Onyari, Douglas Kirimi, Jevan Karanja, and Samuel Tawish. My name is Miriam Ogutu. A very good morning to you.